Okay, so I'm Jason. This is from Jen's Perspective Review. So let's go on and get into this this whole recap of episode 5, Bridgerton's The Duke and I. So Daphne rushes home and she's trying to quickly change her clothes, change to her night clothes to get into bed before the maid comes in to wake her up. And so she, successfully did that. Rose came in and, to wake her up, and she asked if her mother had, Lady Violet was already up. But Lady Violet was already up. She was in the study and she was hungover. Because she did, she was throwing them glasses of champagne back pretty heavy. So she's now dealing with the aftermath of that. So Daphne walks in and she tells her that she's engaged. And of course, initially her mom thought that she was talking about the prince. Oh, the prince, but she already knew because Anthony already told her that he was going to ask. Told them that he was going to ask. And she said, no, actually it was the Duke, and the Duke actually proposed. And of course her mother was happy because, she liked the Duke. She liked Lady Danbury, and she know that they have feelings for each other. And she was saying, I think the mom was like, okay, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to plan a wedding. Daphne was like, maybe we should do it in a week, and let's see if we could do it in a week, or probably less than a week. And the mom was initially thinking, why are you rushing? What's the rush? What's going on? What happened? Is there something that I need to know that you're not telling me? Why? But she was like, oh, okay. So she didn't ask. I guess she didn't really want to know. She was just like, these things happen. And, and then she started going into some little TMI about her and, her and Daphne's dad and how there was so much passion. I'm like, oh, okay. Nobody, Mama Violet, nobody needs to know that, all that. But anywho, and of course, Daphne's standing there confused, like, what in the world is she talking about? So they're trying to plan this wedding in 3 days. 3 days, okay? So the queen, she's walking down the sprawling halls for a stage. She has so many people in tow, and she's talking about she's planning a wedding because she's assuming that the prince went ahead and proposed to Daphne and that there's going to be a wedding in the upcoming future. But okay, no, not according to Miss Whistledown, who released her new little gossip column there. And when the man ran up and gave the queen the paper, she realized that, okay, her nephew will not be getting married, that Daphne accepted Duke Hastings' proposal. And you can imagine that she was not happy at all. Okay, so while the queen, she's getting the news, obviously she's getting the news at the same time everybody else is getting the same column and reading it. And so you could see, I think her name is Cressida Calber. You could see her grinning from ear to ear after reading that, oh, she's going to be off the market, which of course, as far as she's concerned, now makes the prince fair game, which of course is crazy logic, because just because he's not marrying Daphne doesn't mean he's interested in marrying you. But of course, she's just happy that Daphne is no longer competition, as I'm sure a lot of the other women or the young girls who were presented this season are as well. And so Eloise is talking to Daphne, and they're still at home, and of course Harrison is asking all these questions, and Daphne, Eloise is still on her stuff about you wanted to be getting married, and why is this so important, and I'm not like you, and Daphne is telling her that me making a good match makes things easier for you, and she was like, when Eloise is like, no, because I'm not you, I'm never going to be you, and then of course one of the footmen come in and tell her that the prince was there, so now she got some explaining to do, right? And so she apologized to him and told him that she, realized that her feelings for Simon was stronger than they were, and when he asked and she accepted, and she did apologize. He was extremely gracious. He wasn't upset, or it wasn't anything like that. He was just a good guy. He was just seemed like he came across as a really decent, understanding guy. And he was like, well, you know, he was, you know, kind of confused because it did seem like she was into him. And she explained that, you know, it was, she, you know, apologized. No, it wasn't. She basically told him that, no, it wasn't him imagining things, that she really did, you know, she enjoyed his company, but she realized that she cared for Simon a lot more. And he wished them well, and, you know, hoped that she, you know, basically got everything that her heart's desire. And he, you know, they kissed, and he kissed her on the cheek, and he left. And it was funny because Hyacinth, being the little bratty sister that she was, of course, she's sneaking and creeping. And as soon as he left, she walked in and said that, I hope the Duke's proposal was as romantic. And you can see Daphne's face like, yeah, so did I. But, you know, that's not how things work. But, you know, it is what it is. So Violet, Danbury, and Daphne, they're in the park. They're waiting for Simon to arrive. He was late. And Lady Danbury walked up to him, I guess, to give him a piece of her mind for being late. And then she could smell that he had been at the nearest pub, saloon, whatever the situation was. She could smell the alcohol coming off him. And so Daphne and Simon, they started walking, you know, like they usually do. But he wasn't as talkative, and she could clearly smell the alcohol on him. And you know, he was very stone-faced. He wasn't his normal charming self where they would trade quips and laugh. You know, it was, you know, that it was a struggle where once it was quite, you know, easy for them to communicate with each other. And she could feel that something was off, but, you know, it is what it is. This is the situation that they're in at this point. So Anthony, obviously, he goes to see Sienna. Genevieve answers the door, and he wanted to talk to Sienna, but Genevieve was like, well, you're too late. She's already left town. She doesn't want to talk to you, and she doesn't want to deal with you anymore. And he's saying that, you know, he's going to keep his promise about making sure that, you know, she's taken care of, and he's made arrangements for her, you know, she's going to be okay. And Sienna, Genevieve basically said, it's too little too late. And she went on to slam the door in his face. So I saw that. That was a whole mess. I just kind of saw that blowing up. But, you know, that's what it was. Now, had she really left town? We don't know. But I can imagine that she wouldn't, you know, want to talk to him at this point. At the Featheringtons, Lady Portia walks in to talk. They're all in the drawing room. And Lady Portia walks in to talk to Lord Featherington about the account at the dressmakers. The girls need their dresses, but of course they're not going to give them the dresses until he settled whatever the balance is that he has. And he basically said that they had plenty of dresses and they don't need any more right now. And then she snatched his, I don't know if it was a pipe or something, in his hand. She said, if they can't have their dresses, then you can forego your tobacco. And she got up and she stormed out. I can imagine. I can't say that. I can't imagine you know, that feeling, that betrayed, that this man that you're completely, because remember, during this time, they are completely dependent on their husbands. And you have 3 daughters, and not one of them have a dowry, which of course is also important at this time. And I can't even imagine. So Colin arrives, and he came with flowers, and he wanted to see Marina. Of course, Penelope is there. And I have a feeling, because I don't know if I said this in the last video, Colin is going to be the reason why Penelope and Marina fall out. Because obviously Penelope is in love with Collins. And at this point, Penelope has been Marina's confidant and only friend. And I could, you know, that's going to quickly change as it relates to Collins. And it's destined to be a hot mess. So he's talking about, you know, he's there to see Marina, and of course Penelope is interjecting Greece, because he said something a few episodes back, it was the first episode, where he got some post in Greece, and you know how would be so excited to go there, and Marina, you know, was kind of confused, like why is she like blocking, like what's going on. And it's so amazing to me how she can't pick up on cues. Like you can see that when you talk about him that she gets upset. And Marina, of course, Marina is about Marina and trying to fix the situation that, you know, she's in, and she's not really paying attention to Penelope. Collins, him and Marina, they go in further into the drawing room to sit down, and Penelope, as Lady Portia was walking out, Penelope walked over to her and said that, don't you think that Marina's wasting Collins' time? You know, he's younger than her, and that, you know, they're not a good match. And she, you know, was basically talking to her mom, and her mom, she didn't really say anything, but she walked out like she was, you know, thinking, like her wheels were spinning, right? And of course Penelope is not, you know, she's not happy. Daphne is at the tailor's with her mom. They're fitting her for a dress, and Genevieve is telling her that her wedding dress is going to take a little longer than normal, but then I guess whatever they thought, but they're going to get it done. And then the mom and Genevieve started talking about nightgowns, how she's going to probably need 5 new nightgowns. And Daphne's like, why in the world would I need 5 new nightgowns? And Genevieve was like, honey, it's not for you, it's for your husband. And of course she just doesn't know about such things, so she's still kind of confused, right? And so while they're talking, the helpers walk in, and the mom, I guess she congratulates Daphne, and Daphne asks if she could speak to Cresdy, that woman's name, Lord, alone. And so they started talking, and Daphne was basically trying to see what she actually knew, and saying that, you know, the garden wasn't well lit, so it's kind of difficult to see hard to say what you thought you may have seen. And she was like, my view was perfectly clear from the terrace, and I saw you lure him into the park to trap him so that he would marry you. And she said, that's interesting, because he doesn't strike me as a person that likes being told what to do. And so Daphne ends up telling her that regardless of what you think, I'm going to be a duchess, and you're still going to be who you are. And you need to decide that if you want me as an enemy or a friend. And yeah, they traded a few quips, and Cressida, yeah, she went on and walked out. She said her piece, and she went on and left. So the queen is now talking to the prince, and he's telling her that he's going back home. And she was like, you can't be happy to be there, and, you know, what happened and why, you know, she's really upset that this didn't happen, that, you know, the wedding's not going to happen. And she basically, you know, told him that she basically, you know, gave him the okay to leave. And he basically said that he was happy for her, and, you know, it just didn't work out. And like I said, he didn't have any hard feelings. And she was like, you might be willing to accept defeat, but I'm not. So I'm like, what she got going on? What she got up her sleeve? What queen about to do? So Anthony and Simon, they meet at the church where the ceremony is going to take place, because they have, I guess, petitioned to get this special license so the wedding can take place in the time frame that they want. And at the church, Simon tells him that he doesn't want Daphne's dowry. And I think Anthony thought it was coming from some other place, and Simon was basically like, well, no, you know, it's my job to take care of her. I don't want the money. You could put the money in a trust for her to do with whatever she wants. And, you know, that was basically it. It wasn't like he was, you know, I don't know, like saying their money wasn't good. I don't know what, you know, how Anthony was taking it, but he understood when he told him, like, no, it's my job to take care of her. That's her money to do whatever she want to do with it. And so, you know, they talked for a little bit, and he was like, oh, you're not, you know, as bad as I thought you were. And, you know, I wanted to apologize for shooting you. And Simon was like, well, you were always a terrible shot anyway. So, and then, you know, the guy who was supposed to perform the wedding, he's walked in, and he basically told him there wasn't going to be a wedding because the license was denied. So they're back at the house, and they're talking like, oh, well, you know, how are we supposed to wait 8 weeks? You know, in 8 weeks, the whole story can come out, and it would ruin everything. And so Lady Danbury arrived, and she saw the looks on their faces, and she's like, what happened? Why, it's supposed to be a happy festive occasion. And they told her that the license had been denied. And she was the one who said, you know what, the only person that would do that would be the queen, and she's probably upset because you rejected the prince. And she basically told them that they need to make a personal appeal to her, and you need to be genuine. She's going to be able to tell if you're basically full of BS. Don't waste her time, and hope that she decides to kind of back off and let the ceremony take place. And so Benedict is now, he's going back to Granville. I kept calling that man Grantham, his Granville house. He was invited there. There's a party going on. There's a few men sprinkled about, far more women sprinkled about, some scantily clad, some, in various stages of dress. And he invited him in, and he, told him to have a good time, and he went on to do whatever it is that he was going to do. And so he, was kind of walking around, and then he saw Genevieve. Now, Genevieve knew who he was, but he has no idea who Genevieve is. And she told him, they talked a little bit, and she, was flirting, and she told him that he should go home to his brother, and because she knows he's a Bridgerton and the whole thing, and then they started kissing, and then, turned into a whole situation. And then it looked like they was about to go into this room, but when he opened the door, he saw Granville in there with a man. And he walked in, he closed the door, he didn't say anything. And then Genevieve was there, and, that was on this chaise lounge or something, and next thing it was him and two other women, right? So he was getting his life, he was having the time of his life at this party, right? So that he quickly put that whole vision out of his mind and went on and had him a good old time. Wills and Simon. So Simon he's been kicked out of a bar. And I guess Simon was there. I don't know if he was supposed to meet him or what, but he saw him outside. He half drunk, and he's looking for his drink. He had to help the man up, and he, telling him that, you could have, chose a different, a worse person. Like, you seem to care about her very much. And, Simon was going through it. Like, he was really going through it. So back at the Featheringtons, Lady Portia walked into Marina's room and told her that Lord Rutledge will be there on this particular day, and he's going to propose to you, and you're going to accept it. And she basically said that Colin is a potential. She told her that she needs to stay away from Collins. And then Marina talked about how me marrying into the Bridgerton's family is going to be a benefit to your family, because they're, status and money and prestige and the whole thing. And Lady Portia was like, well, it would have to happen soon. So she basically said that give me by Saturday. If it doesn't happen, then I'll marry. Then I will accept Lord Rutledge's proposal. And Marina talked about. She was like, well, no, the proposal could take weeks. By then, she could be further along, obviously showing, and that would kind of ruin everything. At least Rutledge, he's aware of the situation, or, it's more important for him to have an heir than anything else. And so that's one of the reasons why she chose him. Marina was like, well, what if we, get together before the wedding night? And basically she's talking about trapping him. And of course, Penelope's on the other side of the door listening, and not her beloved Collins. No ma'am. No, sir. She's not going. So of course she's hurt and upset. Like I said, Collins is going to be the reason why her and Marina have a falling out. So Lady Portia agreed to give her until Saturday, and if it's not Saturday, then you're gonna be Mrs. Rutledge, Lady Rutledge's something other. That's what your name. That's what your new last name's gonna be. So the queen, she goes in to have dinner with her husband, And it was really sweet, you know, to begin with. You know, they're sitting, they're talking and laughing, and they're reminiscing. And it seemed like at one point in time they did care for, you know, not at one point in time. It does seem like they care for each other. I think that he may be going through stages of dementia or Alzheimer's or something, because he started asking about Emily, which I'm assuming was their daughter. And she was kind of confused. And she said that, you know, that Emil was sick for a while. And I'm assuming that she, you know, died some time ago. And it was like he was hearing it for the first time. And he's like, what did you do to my daughter? And he starts screaming. The people had to come and get him and hold him back. And you could see in her face that, you know, she, you know, was just devastated. So, it's clear that he's, you know, having some cognitive issues. Daphne, you know, she couldn't sleep. And so she got up and she was kind of walking through the garden. Rose, one of the servants, lady maids, saw her and just wanted to check on her, see if she was okay. And she basically wanted to reassure her that everything, you know, that she's going to make sure that everything is perfect and exactly the way she wanted. And of course, you know, Daphne had, you know, told her that she had every confidence in the world. And for some reason, she told Rose that Simon can't have children. And I guess to reassure her, Rose told her about an aunt and, you know, her aunts and I guess her uncle. I think the aunt was her blood relative and got married, and, you know, they've been married for 10 years and they haven't been blessed with any children. And, you know, it's not like it hurt their marriage, you know, because, you know, they love each other so much. And Daphne was like, well, at least they have love, you know, love, at least they have that. And you can kind of see Rose's face, like, you know, and that's been, you know, that's been the, you know, the thing between, you know, up until this point, because all before what seemed easy and you can see the passion and the chemistry between them, it's just, I mean, I can imagine it's just an awkward situation, but you don't really get that from them. It's kind of very cold and kind of aloof. I don't know. It's just a different feeling at this point. So, Simon, he wakes up at Will's house. He's, one of, Will's sons told him that I guess he stink or something. I guess he would, you know, as drunk as he was, I can imagine that smell of alcohol was coming all through his pores. And, you know, they started talking, and he invited both of them to the wedding, and of course they accepted. And Will's wife was talking about how Will wanted to put on these these fighting matches, and he wanted, you know, to know if Simon would invest. She's very outspoken and very kind of blunt and to the chase, right? And so it could be kind of off-putting, Will know, but it's something that he loves about her. And you can tell that they care about each other a lot, which I do enjoy seeing. They really love each other. And you can kind of see Simon watching how they interact, and it was charming. It was nice to see. And so, Lady Violet, Lady Danbury, Simon, and Daphne are before the Queen, and they are putting their you know, case case forward. And she was like, well, I don't know what you guys think that I can do about this. And so Daphne, you know, spoke up, and she did apologize for, you know, the situation with the prince, and how, you know, she didn't realize how, you know, much she cared about him until the whole thing. And eventually, Simon, you know, spoke up, and he basically, and the gist of it was, and I really like when he said that, you know, initially when we started seeing each other, it was a ruse. People thought that we were courting, but it was just that we really enjoyed each other's company and we couldn't stay away from each other. And he, you know, in the end, he said that I always knew that I wanted her to be my wife, and that I want her to be my wife. And it was and even her facial, even she looked at him, because it's been so confusing up until this point where he hasn't really said too much to her and he's been avoiding her. It's just, and then the Queen asked her, you know, it touched something in her, and she asked Daphne, do you want to marry this man? And so the next scene we see is the wedding at the church. And it was just the Bridgertons on one side, and you had his wife, Lady Danbury, on the other side. And, it was very slow and deliberate. Of course, they're playing the music to make it more dramatic, and them looking at each other and looking away, and the whole ring and the whole situation. And, they had the ceremony. So you get to the reception, and it's wall-to-wall people. So I'm like, wait a minute. No, people didn't come to the ceremony, but they came to stuff their face? That's so ghetto. That is just so ghetto. But anyway, the reception was wall-to-wall people, of course. People smiling, drinking, being merry, having a great time. And Cressida, she walked over to Daphne and basically said that, congratulations, and I hope that you remembered that I kept your secret for when you owe me a favor one day. And she walked off. I'm like, girl, all right, Cressida. So Penelope and Marina, so they're standing off to the side and they're kind of looking. You can see, they can both see Collins, but Penelope is kind of making all these suggestions, like, what about this person? What about this person? And she's like, no. Marina was like, no, she was really, set on Collins. And Penelope is trying to put her attention on anybody else, right? And so, Penelope ends up saying that, Collins is, her friend. She's known him all her life, and she can't allow her to do this. And she was like, so what do you want me to do? Marry somebody who treats me like a beast? And I mean, that Rutledge guy was like, he was really talking to her and treating her like she was on an auction block and like he was buying cattle. You know what I'm saying? So, she, basically at the end of the day, Collins came over to talk to her, and Marina feigned like she was having a headache or something, and he helped her into the study. And she tried to seduce him, but Collins was like, no, I can't do this. He thinks of her as this respectable lady. And then eventually he ends up proposing to her, and of course she accepted with the quickness. And he's saying that he wanted to plan the wedding for the end of the season. And of course, by the time the end of the season comes, there's going to be a baby coming too. So I'm like, she's like, oh, okay. And of course, he said he didn't want her to say anything because it was Daphne's day and he didn't want, to take the attention away from her. So of course, she, agreed. But now she's trying to figure out like how she could move this wedding forward because, all right, before the cat's out the bag. And so, the queen walked up to Daphne and she told her that, I hope that you made the right decision, and well, at least you'll enjoy your wedding night or something, she said to her regarding that. And Daphne was kind of looking like, what is she talking about? What is that about? So the queen went over to the table, I guess, to get whatever, food, drink, whatever. And you had Lady Danbury and Eloise talking, and it was obvious by the conversation that Eloise was accusing Lady Danbury of being Lady Whistledown. And Lady Danbury thought it was funny, but she was like, honey, that's not me. And so Lady Danbury walked off, and the queen walked over to Eloise and tried to figure out, okay, so you're trying to find out who Lady Whistledown is. Why do you think it's Lady Danbury? And tell me what you know. And of course, she was kind of caught off guard because it's the queen, but she was also excited that the queen wanted to know and was interested in her little investigation. So I hope she didn't just throw Lady Danbury under the bus for this mess. I'm really hoping that doesn't come back on Lady Danbury. So Benedict walks over. No, Granville walks over to Benedict and they talked a little bit, and he asked him, so about, that thing that you saw. And Benedict was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't see anything. And so he was like, oh, okay. He got like, okay, he's not going to say anything. And then Granville's wife came over and he introduced Lucy Granville. And that was the other woman that he slept with. It was, her and, Genevieve. And so now that was awkward. So he was kind of looking at her like, oh, okay. And of course she didn't say anything. She just, introduced herself like it was her first time seeing him. So I'm like, ooh, that might come out to bite you in the ass. And, Genevieve has a bone to pick with the family for how Anthony treated her friend, Sienna. So it's quite possible that Genevieve orchestrated that on purpose. Anywho, So Daphne is standing by the food table. I mean, she could see Simon, but it seemed like they haven't spoken to each other the entire reception. So Anthony walks over to talk to her, and he ends up telling her that Simon refused her dowry. And she was like, are you trying to make me feel better? And he said that no, he refused. He said that I could put it in the trust and you can do whatever you want with it, or maybe you can give it to your own children. And she, started to feel some kind of way. And he asked her if she was feeling okay, and she kind of walked out and she went to her room. And so shortly after, her mom walked in and talked and was giving her the talk about, she was trying to talk to her about what to expect on her wedding night, but and she was using like animals, how the puppies that we had at the country estate or something, had the dogs we had, and then eventually there were puppies, and so she was making the connection that sex makes babies. Okay, so she was able to get that, but it was just awkward. It was a really awkward conversation. But she kind of got, she got what her mom was saying. Okay. So Rose came in and she told her that they were bringing the carriages around. So now it's time for Simon and Daphne to leave. Of course, all of the, the house staff and the family, they, walked them outside. They were saying their goodbyes. And she was like, I'm going to miss all of you. And Anthony was like, even me. And she was, of course, like, even you. And he gave her a little kiss on the cheek. And she had, talked to Eloise. And she basically reassured her that, I feel the same way that everybody else does. And that's that you're going to make your own way in the world. And that statement, it meant a lot to Eloise. I mean, it's not that Daphne she never wanted Eloise to be like her. But she just wanted Eloise to understand where she was coming from and, the importance of what it is that she was trying to do. And so they say their goodbyes and she get in the carriage with Simon. And so Simon tells her that they're gonna have to step over, spend the night at the inn, because, it's a long way to where they're trying to go and it's not safe to travel at night. So she was like, okay, so we're going to spend our wedding night in the inn. And he was like, well, I'm sorry, I should have told you. And she was like, well, no, that's fine. And so they arrive at the inn, and you could tell she started breathing hard, like, oh Lord, got to the room door. And then she realized that he had gotten them separate rooms. So she went into her room as quickly as she could. He went to his room, and you can kind of see them pacing back and forth, like they wanted to say something, they wanted to see each other, they wanted to be together, but it's like, who's gonna make the first move? So it seemed like initially it was going to be her, so she ran to her door, I guess, to go over to his room, but he was already standing there, and he says to her, dinner is ready. They prepared dinner, dinner's ready downstairs. And so he came into the room, and they started talking, and she was like, I don't want any dinner. And she was upset. She was like, she didn't really get what was going on. She was like, for days I've been wanting to be alone with you, to talk to you, but you were avoiding me. And, she really didn't understand what was going on. And then he, told her that, it wasn't, this last 3 days have been torture. All I wanted to do was be with you. And I just felt guilty because I feel like that I'm cheating you out of something that you want. He's saying he can't have children, but he knows that she wants children, and how he feels guilty and he felt like he trapped her. And, she felt like she trapped him. And, it was like, they really said what they wanted to say, and how, he's, it's always been her, and she's, had to admit that she, she's loved him as well, and it's always been him. And that's what they have to build on. I guess whether or not they ever have children, or not. And they, consummate their marriage. And she was quite happy, I'll say she was quite happy at the end. He asked her, how she was feeling. I guess she was feeling good. She had a nice little glow and everything. I said, all right, Daphne, all right. But that's how this episode ended. And I'm like, God, if this is how this is only episode number 5, there's still 3 more episodes. what can possibly happen? I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys later.